There is one portion of health reform that has not passed yet. In order to try to stop that, Republicans are now essentially trying to shut down the Senate. Watch this clip. Watch what happened this morning. This is in the middle of a hearing on homeless U.S. military veterans.
In the HUD studies, sponsored by HUD, and in the VA studies as part of the Chronic Homelessness Initiative in 2003, that 85% housing stability number is the same number that the researchers that conducted those studies found. So,
thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry, but I must interrupt this hearing here. Committees are allowed to meet while the Senate is in session based on the unanimous consent of the members. And this is a standard procedural agreement that is always permitted. However, there's been an objection on the floor to allowing most committees, including our committee, to meet.
Starting at around 11 o'clock this morning, in an action that will have no effect on health reform whatsoever, Republicans have just decided to shut down Senate hearings on pretty much everything. Not because they object to what's happening in those hearings, but because they're just mad. Hearings that were already underway, like the one about homeless vets you just saw, hearings that were already underway were interrupted, stopped dead in their tracks. Hearings that hadn't started yet had to be canceled, including, for example, one on our military policy toward North Korea.
I would note that this unanimous consent request is supported by my ranking member, Senator McCain. We have 3 commanders scheduled to testify this afternoon. They've been scheduled for a long time. They've come a long, long distance. One of them has come from Korea. One of them has come from Hawaii. And I would therefore ask unanimous consent that this previously scheduled and currently scheduled hearing of the Committee on Armed Services be allowed to proceed.
Madam President.
Is there objection?
Madam President.
Senator from North Carolina.
As a member of the committee, and I side myself with the chair and the ranking member, that I have no personal objection to continuing. There is objection on our side of the aisle, therefore I would have to object.
Republican Senator Richard Burr of South Carolina bravely objecting on behalf of some other guy he decides not to name. Definitely not himself. He's totally not the one who wants to obstruct the Armed Services hearing on our military stance toward North Korea, for which our military commanders have traveled from places like Korea and Hawaii. The confirmation hearing for Goodwin Liu, the president's nominee to serve on the largest federal appeals court in the nation, was also canceled, as was a Homeland Security subcommittee hearing on contracts for Afghan national police training. Not to mention hearings that were also stopped yesterday by Republicans, including an energy subcommittee hearing on the causes of western forest fires. That was called off. And a Homeland Security subcommittee hearing on government transparency. That one was shut down right in the middle of it. Shut down in progress. Welcome to the shut down the government outrage phase of Republicans' opposition to everything. Joining us now is Senator Sherrod Brown, Democrat of Ohio, who has been busy voting all night. Senator, thanks for breaking away from the Senate floor to be with us. Really appreciate it.
Glad to. They try to do the same thing. We were doing the markup in the Agriculture Full Committee of the Child Nutrition Act, and several people didn't get to offer amendments. Senator Bob Casey, who had some good amendments with Senator Gillibrand and me and some others on summer feeding programs and the school breakfast programs, and we're not even allowed to be offered because the time clock ran out. It's these children. I mean, children. I'm not talking about the kids with child nutrition. I'm talking about the children that are blocking these, and nobody's, just like kids, nobody's taking personal responsibility. Senator Burr goes like this: "Not me. I really like to stay, but I can't do it because it's those people downstairs in the big room that are saying no." I mean, it really is just outrageous. Anything to obstruct, anything to slow down. That's what they're doing tonight, straight downstairs from where I am. That's the way they're playing this. To them, it's a game. To the American public, they want health care. They want this done. They want us to focus on jobs and do this right.
In terms of those hearings, did you know that this tactic was coming? Do we know if these hearings are going to be rescheduled? Do we know how long this shutdown is going to last?
We heard about an hour into the hearing that's what, ours was a markup where we were doing amendments. We heard about an hour in that we only had another hour to do this. I had 4 amendments. 2 of them I offered were accepted. The other 2 I did not offer, partly because of the time squeeze. I said it happened with Senator Casey. I think it happened with others. I mean, it's just child's play, and it's childish. It's not child's play, and I don't get it. I mean, this whole period for the last year of health care, education, all the kinds of things we're doing, they're just any way to delay and obstruct and slow down and throw sand in the gears and every other mixed metaphor I could use.
In terms of the vote-a-rama on the Senate floor right now, as you say, downstairs from where you're sitting right now, can you explain to our viewers who may not be familiar with vote-a-rama, except as a term that sounds like a joke, what's actually happening and what will be accomplished by the time you guys finally wrap up tonight?
Well, nothing's going to be accomplished because the Republicans want to make one change in the reconciliation bill, so it has to go back to the House so they can try to slow it down there, and then there's a conference committee and all that. We know the House and the Senate, we all worked out the reconciliation package. They sent it to us. We need to pass it, get it out of here quickly so this bill is finalized. So they're offering all kinds of amendments. One amendment that was particularly interesting was they offered an amendment to lower student loan interest rates. The Republicans, I mean, they're always on the side of the banks. They're trying to block us from taking the money from bank subsidies, which they wanted to do, and put it directly into student loans. And now they're acting like they're on the side of the students. I mean, it's all, you know, in the end, you follow the money with this crowd. You knew what they tried to block health care because the insurance companies are one of their biggest benefactors. They're trying to block the student loan direct lending, so because the banks are one of their biggest benefactors. And they're wrong. The public knows they're wrong. They want to confuse people with these amendments. It's their same old game. And I mean, the public is more and more starting to be onto them. That's why when I hear people say this is going to be such a bad year for Democrats, they're wrong, because the public is more and more catching on to what they're doing, to their hypocrisy about all this. They criticize us on budget deficits. They passed tax cuts for the rich, didn't pay for them. A war that cost $1 trillion, didn't pay for it. A giveaway to the drug and insurance companies with Medicare, didn't pay for it. Took a huge surplus, turned it into a huge budget deficit during the Bush years, as you know, Rachel.
Senator Sherrod Brown, Democrat of Ohio, I know that you are getting yanked right now to go back and do more voting on these amendments downstairs.
Thanks.
Thank you for taking time to join us tonight.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it,
Thanks
sir.
for what you're doing, Rachel. See
Thank you. Okay, so the deal with Senator Scott Brown and me is this. I am not running against Scott Brown for Senate in Massachusetts. I am not. Nevertheless, he sent out a fundraising email implying that I was. Then today, he doubled down on the whole Rachel Maddow is running against me thing, even after I said I'm definitely not running against you, dude. Senator, good luck in your primary race, okay? I want to wish you good luck in your primary race, because the Easter Bunny's imaginary existence and purported candy-giving practices are simply wrong for America. I stand with you.